So we've got the dismantling of the great democracy. Many of the politicians of latter day have now referred to America, a 245-year-old nation, as an idea, rather than founded on some sort of principle of family or blood, but it's a great idea. And even says it's an experiment. And they like to say that America is singularly a nation of unusual foundation. But there's a dismantling of this great experiment, and great idea. There's a dismantling of it. And I want to just give some attention to it, if you don't mind, Manning style. Let me first of all say, with respect to, if you want to know the future, read the Bible. And you need to read the Bible rather than looking for gold or looking for money or looking for a blessing or looking for something, a husband, or looking for something else as the reason for you reading the Bible. As you know, a lot of people read the Bible for that purpose. If you want to know the future, the Bible is a book of prophecy, and there's prophecy. The verses of whatever chapter you may look at, say some of the New Testament letters written by Paul, are dripping with prophecy. So if you want to know the future, read the Bible. And if you don't do that, then just pick up the newspapers and read the past. Look at what has happened in the past. And with respect to, well, what is going to happen to America? Will America survive this dismantling that's taking place at present? And the answer is no. And if you want me to be emphatic about this, if you don't mind, if you're not too squeamish, if you're not too girlish, the answer is hell no. America's not going to survive this dismantling that's presently taking place. And I'll explain to you what the dismantling is in the event that you aren't aware of it, or you're somehow not cognitive of the state of America right now, this so-called great experiment, or this foundation of an idea, with a constitution of a government for the people, by the people, and of the people, and where it recognizes that all men are created equal. Not sure they've ever lived up to that ideal, but that's another debate for another time. But if you want to know the future, read the Bible. And in the event you say, well, I pass on the Bible, I've got my problems with the Bible, its sources, etc., then just read the past. And you go back over the last, if you can do a systematic study of the past 150 to 200 years, or even the 150 years of American history and global history too, by the way, it'll help you it'll tell you the future. It's going to tell you exactly what men are going to do in the future by looking at what they did in the past. That's generally a good way of asking yourself, are you in the right place at the right time? And what your future will be, your major case, sirrah, whatever will be, will be. If you really want to know, if you're a reasonable age, what you're going to be doing 10 years from now, look at what the hell you're doing now. It's a pretty good indicator. And what you've done in the past, it's a very good indicator of what you're going to be doing next. And depending on whether it's good or bad, well, so the cookie crumbles. But if I could, for those who don't like reading the Bible, I would, of course, I am going to make mention at some point of reading the book of Revelation, but more specifically, reading the book of the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24, that gives us some idea about the future and the immediate future as well. But for those who like to read the past, go back to the days. Can you just journey back through time, through, historical writings, accurate writings of what America was like during the days of the Civil War, during the days of the Southern states' rights, the days of the abolitionists, the days of the, if you will, where slavery was a mega issue, the North and the South, and there were certain kinds of tensions going on between the North in terms of its economic support and its constitutional support and the various political parties that rose up. The days before the Civil War, no one actually predicting that there'd be a war where 600,000 Japheth Americans would die on the battlefields across America, whether from Fredericksburg to Bull Run to Gettysburg, where their bodies would die and their bones would bleach before the undertakers could come. And others by the millions would be lamed, maimed, going home on crutches. When Johnny comes marching home, it'll be on crutches. Well, plantations burned, fields burned, women raped, and houses and towns looted. Nobody actually thought that. That's going back to, say, the year of 1848 or 1850, 15 years or 11 years before the war actually jumped off. They never thought that would take place because they weren't reading the Bible and they weren't taking a close look at the past. But if you could go back and see what the tenor was, what was the debate like between the great Lincoln-Douglas debate before Lincoln became president, and what was the presidency like, and what was it like in America before the Civil War jumped off, and it jumped off. It'll give you some idea what's getting ready to jump off now. And one of the things that was the Dred Scott decision was a major decision regarding whether or not the Hamite, that's the black man, slave at the time, could vote. We've got now some voting restrictions, or a Vote for the People Act, where the two different parties are contending about who's eligible to vote and who's not eligible to vote, and how that voting process can be restricted. But the right to vote was given, was the 14th and 15th Amendment of the Constitution, both the 13th Amendment, where slavery itself was completely outlawed, and then the 14th Amendment gave slaves the right to, the 14th and 15th Amendment gave slaves the right to be citizens and the right to vote, male slaves at the very least. And so now there's this major contention, and a lot of people are not historians who don't look at this in a historical perspective or biblical perspective. Look at this great debate now, and Chuck Schumer trying to get a bill through, the Democrats trying to get a bill through Congress regarding Voting Rights Act, a federal, if you will, federalizing of the voting across America, while individual states and nations across America that have Republican, if you will, leaderships of governor or attorney general and state legislators within those states are changing the voting laws. You can't give a person who's waiting online to vote a bottle of water. It'll be considered a crime, and you'll be arrested and hauled off to jail for handing a bottle of water. The man who sold drugs to somebody online will get less time than the man who gave a man a bottle of water, because they're trying to restrict, they're trying to make it more difficult for people to vote. And by making it more difficult for a certain segment of society, such as Hamites, people, they call themselves African Americans or blacks, make it difficult for them to vote, well, there'll be less of them turning out. And so therefore, a minority in America who will turn out to vote and who will have the kind of voter identification that is necessary will be able to vote, and therefore not by a majority vote, but by a, if you will, chicanery vote, be able to get their politicians into office and continue to rule the roost, whether it be governor, senator, congressman, or president. So there's a big debate about that. And also included something that you're probably not paying a lot of attention to is that a large number of people are trying to move America to not democracy, but an oligarchy. What do you mean by that? Well, oligarchy, an autocratic or parliamentary type government, or a democracy or communist type government. An oligarchy is a nation that is ruled by its wealthiest persons, such as the Koch brothers, right? A George Soros, for that matter, or Warren Buffett, or Bill Gates. These are Jeff Bezos, and then you've got these organizations who can contribute money in a, if you will, to conservative or, if you will, liberals, and they don't have to subscribe themselves to the contribution laws. They call it dark money, but really it's oligarchs, such as what they have in Russia. It's not a democracy. It's run by the oligarchs. The oligarchs pay for the candidates. They pay for their campaigns, and then once put them in office, and then the candidates, the senators, the congressmen, the governors, do the bidding of the oligarchs, not the bidding of the people. And we're moving closer towards that with Citizens United, when the Supreme Court allowed for that bill, that horrific, heinous bill to be passed of Citizens United, which then gives people to put $1 billion into the political process behind one candidate, and they don't have to declare who they are or what their reasons or what their politics are. And so it's called dark money, but it's legal because of the Citizens United ruling by the Supreme Court going back a decade ago now. And so we're moving closely to an oligarchy nation. I'm not so sure what the big fight is about civil rights and voting anyway, because if it continues in this regard, the next presidential election in 2024 won't have anything to do with who votes. It'll have anything to do with who's a billionaire and can buy an election. And that's where we're headed. And then, of course, running along that same course, of course, is the power of gerrymandering. My sister went to A&T College there in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I was noticing a news report going back a year ago where it said a part of A&T College is in one congressional district, and just across the street is in another congressional district, though they all are the same skin color and the same people that live in the same region. But gerrymandering can actually route out counties and legislative voting districts in such a way that it will favor a candidate and disfavor another. So if you want to run for a particular office where it has a lot of black people in it, city council or a county seat, gerrymander, that is to redistrict that particular region and redistrict out all the black people and then narrow it where it only contains the type of voter that will vote for you. And boom, bang, boom, shakalaka, you're in. And everybody else is out. It's called gerrymandering. Both Obama and Trump, both forces were sent in America and were successful too, by the way, to destroy the church and the nation. Obama destroyed the Bible. There's no doubt about it. People just don't go to church anymore. They don't believe the word of God anymore. And the ones who do go to church never knew anything about God in the first place for the most part. Or they got something to prove. And this same-sex marriage and Obama laughing at the Bible and it just turned the gospel, if you will, how might African-American people set them absolutely into conniptions, having orgasms. Our first black president. Never seen anything like, I swear before God, until Trump comes along and his people are worse than our first black president. It's I swear, as a step back from and look at this thing as a historian, you got to be. These two men have done the greatest con job on planet Earth, and the con isn't that they got these super, if you will, believers and followers who have done a damn thing for, and never will do a damn thing for as long as they live. In fact, they can't do anything for them. But the thing with it is that they've been able to blind each other to the blindness of each other. Don't you talk about Obama, you will get your head handed to you on a platter. And don't you talk about Donald Trump, you'll get your head handed to you on a platter. I swear, you can't, I don't think the person that wrote all those, nursery rhymes and Mark Twain and everybody else could make up something like this of what people have done in terms of their worship of Obama and what people have done in terms of their worship of Donald Trump. And then both of them are fools. They can't even see each other, what big fools they are. They can't see that the Trump supporter is the biggest fool going and the Obama is the big. They can't even see that, which is, I don't think you've seen a trifecta like that before. It is absolutely incredible. And then, of course, you've got, the power of the prophecy being continued because the Obama supporter think they've got an ace in the hole, and that ace that they think they have in the hole is Camelback ain't Black Harris. Yeah, they think that probably some of them are wishing. I think that Camelback Harris. Someone said the other day that was it Nancy Pelosi? I don't know which it was. Someone said that Justice Breyer should resign because he's old. He's 85, 86 years old, and so Joe Biden would get a chance to appoint the next justice to the court, because right now the court is divided 6-3 6 conservatives and 3, if you will, liberals. And so, but what a large number of people are also hoping is that either Joe Biden will die or resign. Breyer is the only male liberal on the court, along with Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor. They're telling him, resign. I'm not sure he's interested in doing that. But, a lot of people are praying that maybe Joe Biden will die, and then Camelback ain't Black Harris will be the president by default. And woo! Lord, woo-wee. You talking about burning their bras and their panties. Woo! You ain't seen nothing like that. If Camelback ain't Black Harris becomes the president. And then, of course, you got the power of the media that is supporting this idea. They are really praying. The only way, Jim Clyburn is the reason why Joe Biden's president. They figured that in the waning days of the actual campaigning for the primaries, that if you they didn't put somebody in there that Donald Trump's going to win again, so they decided to coalesce around Joe Biden, but really who they wanted to be president was Kamala Harris. But they didn't think they could get enough, older people to vote for Kamala Harris, and especially some of the older Democrats. So they put her on the second tier of the ticket. And bingo, they won. Of course, Trump says they didn't win. Trump says the election was rigged. Well, he ought to know. Anyway, so you got the power of the media now promoting racism on both sides. Sexuality, LGBTQ. It is absolutely unprecedented. Wow, what has turned, if you, let's say, for instance, 30 years ago, you'd say, well, I want to be a journalist, right? You say, I want to be a writer for the New York Times. I want to write and I want to win a Pulitzer Prize. I work for the Washington Post, or I want to be a journalist. I want to be a TV ad person. I want to be a news person like the good honorable Dr. Manning. I want to sit before the news and be a news anchor. 30 years ago, so you went to journalism school, you studied political science and, journalism and everything, got your degree and got yourself an advanced degree. Then you went and started knocking on local television stations in your small region, to get on television to be a journalist or an anchor person or a writer for a newspaper, right? And you landed a job 30 years ago, right? And your job was to go out and report the facts, pick up the stories, report it as it did. Not anymore. Journalism has long since been a dead science. There aren't any journalists out there. Everybody's a racist out there. Everybody from Tucker Carlson to Anderson Cooper, they're all racist, all in their own echo chamber, all all promoting. I mean, it's the crusade of the racists now, and the bigger racist you are, the more the journalists, the people in journalism, the New York Times or Washington Post or CNN or Fox News or MSNBC want you. And, they're trying to make it all color, balanced, equal out. I, turned on Fox News there. I saw so many black faces on there doing so many things. Hell, I thought we were going to some sort of a, Soul Train discotheque movement. Damn, all these black folk on Fox News. Well, they got to keep up with MSNBC. Got to keep up. Got to hide them. Got to keep up with MSNBC. Got to keep up with what do they call it? CNN. Yeah. And both of them are promoting racism. And of course, but MSNBC, same as CNN and the Washington Post, this football player, this Riser guy came out the other day and said he's been wanting to announce he's been a homosexual for the last 15 years. Lord have mercy, it was the story of the days. This football player, y'all see that? And I'll tell you the truth, they are promoting sexuality and the LGBTQ. I mean, if Jesus has gotten that much publicity as the LGBTQ and homosexuality, and he'd be, Lord, everybody be saved by now. But both have produced habitations for demons, I can tell you that, whether it be Fox or CNN. But that's by looking simply at the past. If you choose to look and read the Bible, you may get a similar kind and a clearer understanding. We're in the tribulation. Read Matthew's Gospel, chapter 24. Read the whole chapter. But the first 39 verses are most critical. We're in the tribulation, so all these things have been prophesied to take place. And before I wrap up here, and I want to drop a Bob Jackson song on you about rebellion, he just released. I want to drop it here on you in a moment. That one of the things that I think that has been a clever move of the devil is that going back 100 years ago, knowing that this day was coming, is that he deceived the Southern Baptists into thinking that they were a special group, that God would rapture them out of the earth before the tribulation of nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom and pestilence and famines and earthquakes in divers places, that somehow or another that God would rapture the Southern Baptists, and Southern Baptists pretty much only, that would get raptured out, and then he would let the tribulation happen. And it's a lie. It's a flat out lie. But it's a lie that's sold well. Effectively, if pre-tribulation was right, then Jesus would return to earth 2 times, 2 more. He first came, born in Bethlehem, ascended on Mount Olivet. Then he'd come back and just get the Southern Baptists, right? He'd come back, he'd be caught up in the midair, They be caught up in him according to their misinterpretation of Paul's rap verses of being caught up in the in midair. That'd be the Southern Baptists. And then after that, God would drop the tribulation on everybody else. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. You know that pre-tribulation BS that the Southern Baptists been promoting for the last couple of 100 years? Do you know any Southern Baptists? Do you know any Southern Baptists? Is your husband a Southern Baptist? Is your pastor a Southern Baptist? Do you know a Southern Baptist deacon? Right? Do you? Do you really think that creep is going to be? You think Jesus is going to rapture that Southern Baptist deacon? You think Jesus is going to rapture your Southern Baptist husband? Do you really think that? And leave everybody else? Leave everybody up here in Harlem? Do you really think Jesus is going to rapture all the Southern Baptist deacons? Do you really think that? No, my friend, that was a big lie told by the devil. You know, and then lies on Jesus, because it said Jesus would come back and rapture the Southern Baptists. Then after they're going to drop the hammer called the tribulation. After tribulation, you're going to come back again. That'd be 3 times. Unbiblical. At any rate, I thought that you would want to hear that. I'm not sure now that you've heard it what you think about it, but, you know, c'est la vie, says the old folks. Goes to show. You never can tell. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I am he. I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.